to onto Draft Lol, which is a website, because obviously not everyone has all champs on their accounts, so it's a lot easier to just go about it this way than anything else. So if we get it up, and I can switch. Yeah, so obviously Invul, very, very good season so far. 9-1, only dropping one game across the entirety of NLC Div 3.2 this season. And I think for the first game, I think Invul are red side, so obviously FLG will be blue side then. So if we can, we're actually just going to go straight into draft, because if you give me a moment. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go straight into draft, and it's going to be easy enough. And okay, so I'll switch here. And okay, so obviously we have, the normal obvious picks that I'd imagine will be, banned out pretty quickly or will just be kept. So we have obviously Invul blue side, or Fløng Veterans blue side, excuse me, not Invul blue side, and Fløng blue side and Invul red side. So we are going for the first ban for blue side, which is Fløng. I would assume you'd want to be, I mean, you don't necessarily have to ban out these power picks on blue side, because, the likes of the Talia, the Zeri, these kind of really, really popular champions, these really, really strong ones, especially in Europe, they're usually red sides, as we don't actually have a ban for some reason. I don't know if that was intended. They're remaking. So, okay, so we've made a slight mistake. We'll go back to here. But they're remaking the draft. It will be ready in just a moment. But just some problems on the player's end of things. But obviously, in terms of champions, we have, Talia has been very, very popular, particularly, like I said, particularly in Europe this week. The Poppy on this patch in particular has risen up to be very, very strong as well. And I mean, yeah, we're gonna wait for a new link in one moment. Okay, so we have it here. But yeah, obviously the Talia, the Poppy, these usual anti-dash champions have been very, very strong in the last patch or so. The Zeri is also another one that's very, very strong at the minute. And I will... Okay, so we are going to get into draft. It has been remade. I think everything should be fine this time. So we have the first blue side ban, which is going to be nothing again. I don't know what's actually happening. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, to be perfectly honest with you. But we might just be going straight to a client draft. I don't really know. I'll stick on this screen until we figure out what's going on. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, Volibear was obviously very, very popular up until, quite recently after the nerfs. He's fallen off just a little bit. I still think he's very strong personally, but, has fallen off a little bit. Poppy and Talia obviously being the huge pro for that mid-jungle. LeBlanc obviously very recently buffed, and especially with those sustain changes in lane, has become very, very strong. I think a lot of the champions that kind of, these champions that want to sit in lane and scale are a little bit weaker after those sustain changes, particularly Corki. I think Corki would have been one of the ones that was hit quite bad by that. Yone and Yasuo, also two decently strong picks, especially with the Diana jungle and the Yasuo mid laner, makes her a very good 2v2 as well. But both of those champions obviously, a little bit worse off on this patch, considering the sustain changes. Although Doran's shield was surprisingly not hit, actually. So, I mean, they are okay, but obviously the second wind one was the big one, unflinching as well. So, a lot of these melee mid laners that really want to get up close and personal and fight, like, at close quarters, are the ones that are being hit the most. You have the likes of Sylas. I think Sylas is still quite strong, to be honest, but particularly Yasuo, Yone, Akali is another one. The typical melee mid laners. And then, obviously, Wukong is another one that's still very high prio. You have the Ornn as well. Top lane, definitely a very interesting meta in this patch compared to the last one because of those dragon buffs. So, I mean, I'm curious what we'll see, to be honest. I'm very curious, as we are almost, I think, ready to draft, hopefully. Shouldn't be much longer now. I think we have all of our internal issues sorted. Yeah, okay, so we're just waiting on Fløng to be ready for draft, and then I will get to that. But anyway, so I mean, obviously Invul, you could probably consider them the favorites today. Like I've said a couple times, have had a very, very good season so far, going 9-1. This is their final 2 games today, obviously. So, I mean, yeah, it's just they've definitely looked very, very strong. Obviously, very impressive performances over the course of the season. FLG, they're not necessarily doing bad. They're not, they're doing okay. But I think Invul are definitely the favorites personally. But I mean, yeah, I mean, we will have to see. But regardless, I'm actually quite curious about ADC's this patch because I don't know how to feel about them at the minute. It definitely feels like quite a strong role in general, especially in team play where, things can happen. But obviously the Sivir is the one that's very popular at the minute after the mid-scope update. Then you have as well Jinx Aphelios is still kind of, getting around there. The Renata Kalista is also a bot lane that's quite popular. Renata obviously a very, very popular support at the minute. I'd imagine up in the top lane we'll still get the likes of Ornn. You just can't really get rid of that champion Gangplank if it's being played by someone who can pilot the champion, which, to be fair, there aren't many who can. Akali's gotten a little bit popular in Europe over the past while as well. I mean, yeah, I'm expecting, pretty standard picks. I don't imagine we'll see anything too crazy. Maybe a couple of interesting picks. I know we did have a Yasuo in the last game, which did turn out a lot better than I thought it would, at least. I'm not a huge fan of Yasuo in team play unless he does have, the likes of Diana for that setup, what he needs and everything like that. But anyway, if I will try to figure out what's going on. Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting on Fløng as far as I can tell. But I mean, yeah, it just depends. Like I would imagine Invul, I'd say it wouldn't really shock anyone if they came away with another 2-0 win. But I mean, Fløng can maybe take something back from this. Who knows, to be fair. I mean, we had obviously I think at the minute League is seems to be a very meta dependent draft dependent, excuse me, not meta. It's a very draft dependent meta at the minute. Like the champions that you're picking and that you're going into the game with are obviously, I would probably consider it arguably the most important part of the game, but I think at the minute more than ever that rule would definitely apply. But I will try and get some information quickly on what's actually going on. Because, like I said, just a couple of teething problems, but it will be hopefully sorted very soon. I mean, obviously I'm solo casting today, so hello, hi, it's me. I think Eris is joining me for the game later on, and I'm not sure who'll be player color. I'm also solo casting for this game, so okay, so should be soon is what I'm getting, and we had a small delay. A couple of small delays and problems, but we'll be fine. We'll get into the game and everything will be fine. Obviously a little bit delayed, but there is actually another game going on, and I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but there is another game going on at the minute in the same division in NLC. But I mean, yeah, obviously there is a couple of I believe there's a couple of subs playing today. I'm not too familiar with the rosters, unfortunately, but I can check if you will give me one moment. Because yeah, obviously I'm somewhat new to somewhat new to this league. I do watch a lot of like high level league and esports and that, but I'm not too familiar with NLC in particular. Obviously the reason I'm here is because I'm quite good friends with Eris, who is obviously on the stream a lot more than I am, and yeah, I'm quite new to casting obviously, but I am enjoying it. I'm doing my thing. I'm getting better at it. And I think we have draft, finally. Okay, so hopefully this time we have a functioning draft. And the Darius is going to be hovered as a first ban. Obviously, fairly strong champion. Definitely very good in lane. If he gets ahead, if he's into a short range comp, he can be very, very good. But it is going to be swapped out for the Vex instead, and it will be answered by a immediate Zillion ban for Invul Lotus. Zilean, obviously a bit of a menace of a champion, can be flexed into mid and support. Definitely just really, really difficult to deal with, especially into comps that, have like high burst or want to, shut down that one target. The Darius hover again for a ban. But no, it's going to be swapped to Draven. Obviously, Draven definitely very, very strong at the minute. Obviously, very, very good in lane. Once he gets out of lane, he has a little bit of a lead, and he's very, very strong. And we have a Twitch ban. Obviously, getting rid of that Hypercarry. Twitch very, very strong at the minute. After the Bork buffs, that Bork Rush build, very, very strong. And there is the blue side Taliyah ban, which is quite interesting because normally it's the kind of champion that, you want red side would be banning because, you want to take it, you want to be that B1 Taliyah for your team. But obviously, just taking it away there, not really wanting anything to do with it. And the last ban is going to be Karma. So definitely a lot of focus on the bot lane of Invul, which is no surprise really, obviously putting up some really good games so far this season. And now for the B1 pick, the all-important B1. We will see. I can't really think of what you would want to go for here, Tomas. Maybe a Gwen or a Sivir. Yeah, there's a Sivir. Yeah, pretty normal. I was thinking maybe a Gwen, a Poppy, a Sivir, maybe anything along the lines of that. But yeah, obviously Sivir post mid-scope update, she is very, very strong, can push out the waves really, really quickly. Everyone knows a 400 CS, 5-item Sivir, just shredding your team, shredding waves, doing whatever she wants. And the Azir hover is going to come in. Obviously very, very strong after the durability patch. He was going up a lot, but the durability patch was what really sent him over the edge. Obviously with those sustained nerfs, definitely, with his poke, with his soldier, it's definitely really, really difficult to deal with in lane. And then there is going to be a Renata, obviously. Fairly standard stuff. Renata's a very strong support at the minute, definitely very good into low range comps like this Sivir. Obviously, the spell shield is a bit of a problem for her, but Renata, she likes low range team comps. She likes to be running into her, and that's exactly what Sivir really wants to be doing with that ult and with the very short range, just basically just running at you, engaging on top of you. And going with the Sivir, they might go for a mid pick or they might just go straight for support. Who knows? Obviously, Azir not prone to many bad matchups generally, just because of the way his kit works, but it is going to be the Viego, which, I mean, you could answer this with a Poppy, you could answer this with a Trundle even, because in a vacuum, Trundle does beat Viego in the 1v1, but it can come down to who is going to, rotate to that fight quicker out of mid or top or bot, depending on where it is. And obviously with the likes of Azir, who's definitely going to have mid prio for pretty much the entire lane, depending on what you pick. And we are going to see a Nautilus coming out. No, he's going to switch. It's going to be the Bard. Okay. So we do have something pretty interesting here. The Bard, obviously, he's going to leave the Sivir alone in lane. She can farm. She can do what she wants. But that could be a problem if it is a Kalista. This Kalista-Renata, obviously a very popular bot lane combo, will be bullying this Sivir in lane once the Bard goes out and tries to roam. But this will help the Viego if we do get some kind of Trundle or Poppy pick into it. Obviously, it's really, like I said, in a vacuum, Trundle does win in the 1v1 against Viego, as he does against most champs. But we do get the Narban, obviously very, very strong top laner, probably the best top laner, at least best blind top laner in the game at the moment. Definitely makes sense that they want to get rid of that. And they are banning the Darius. Obviously, Darius really, really prone to that Gnar matchup, so it makes sense that, once you get rid of the Gnar, the Darius is quite strong without that matchup bothering him. So they do take it away, and it's going to be Veigar and Jax bans for the last two. So maybe a Camille for Fløng veterans here, who knows? I'd imagine with the Darius and Jax bans, they probably are going for Camille, but Invul do have a chance to just take that away, although I'd imagine they might go for a jungle pick into this Viego, and they will. It's going to be the Zinzao. Obviously, very strong skirmisher early game, definitely needs to be ahead, but can definitely match this Viego early game. Definitely very strong mid-jungle 2v2, mid-bot, or jungle bot 3v3. And, I mean, we're going to see the last two picks for Fløng veterans, which I'd imagine one of them will probably be the Camille, and then obviously they need to pick the answer into this Azir, which isn't necessarily easy. But definitely something that's probably going to want to be running into people like this Ahri. Exactly. That's exactly, yeah. I mean, the Ahri does make sense. Definitely can do well in lane. Very, very strong mid-jungle 2v2. Can, to an extent, contest this Azir for waves. So it's definitely, seems like a pretty good pick here. And we have this B5, the last pick coming out, showing all their cards into this one pick. which will be the top laner. And like I said, I would imagine a Camille, but I'm not 100% certain. And it will be the Gwen instead. Obviously, Gwen extremely strong at the minute. Very, very... Obviously, with the Gnar taken away as well. Definitely quite good into that Gnar, so... But regardless, the Gwen obviously extremely strong at the minute. Definitely really good in side lanes, really good in team fights. Does take a little while to get going, but once she does get going, she really is just so unstoppable. I believe in the last Invul game we were watching, there was... that is a Teemo. That is actually Teemo. So... I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it seems like a fine answer into the Gwen, like in a vacuum, at least as far as I can tell. But definitely not a champion we see too often, and we will switch to the client draft very shortly because they are doing it right now. And obviously, FLG blue side, once they switch to the client, they just like to get through it as quick as they can, and. You know, it's just getting through the draft pretty much.
Draven
Bans won't be in order, the picks probably won't be in order either, but it does give me some time to look at this, so...
I'm on to you! Grounded!
But we do see, obviously, the same picks and bans. They are going to be picking in their normal order, so... You know, from top to bottom, they'll be picking like that. They won't be picking, you know, the normal way. Or the way they had in draft. The Teemo, though. Definitely something that's... I didn't actually know if they were trying to replace something with that Teemo. But, I mean... definitely not something you see very often in team play. Definitely not considered a very good champion at the moment. I believe he was buffed a couple of patches ago. Or no, it was very recently, actually. Oh, it was very, very recently. Obviously, I think the range on the shrooms was buffed, and a couple of other things. I don't actually know everything off the top of my head.
I do not.
Obviously, a couple of buffs for him. Excuse me. And I mean, yeah. Other than that, pretty much standard picks across the board. The Bard is definitely one that's a little bit new.
Let me at
So,
him.
you know, who knows? Maybe the team will work. I'm not one to. I'm not one to rule it out. I do like to see picks like this, though. Definitely very, very interesting, at least to look at to play. So, regardless, we have a Gwen, Viego, Ahri, Sivir, and Bard for the side of FLG on blue side, playing against Teemo. I can't say his name without laughing. Xin Zhao in the jungle, Azir mid, Kalista, and Renata bot lane. Obviously, you know, quite a popular pick for bot lane. At the moment, definitely, you know, it's very, very strong at the minute. Very easy to stomp in lane, especially when you need it against this kind of thing like the Sivir. But obviously, the Bard and the Ahri, they're in the wrong positions. That is not a Bard mid. It will be Bard support, as you saw in the before. But at least I hope it's not. Anyway, I'm not too familiar with names. But we obviously we have this 3-minute delay to talk about comps, you know, talk about whatever we want. Do whatever we want, pretty much. So, we have some time. We can talk about draft. We can talk about whatever. And I mean, yeah. Obviously, I think there's going to be a lot put into this bot lane with the Xin Zhao early, because the Teemo, you know, he's fine on his own. He can do his thing in the top lane. Might have a little bit of trouble if Viego does come, if he stays pushed up, because I don't see a world where he's not trying to just permanently shove in this Gwen. But... you know, if Viego comes from up top, there might be some problems. Obviously, playing around a Gwen isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, considering the Sivir will just scale on her own. And judging by the Bard pick, I don't think they're trying to put a lot into bot necessarily. So, you know, they might just be putting all their eggs into this Gwen basket in the top lane. And then, obviously, Kalista, obviously not, you know, Sivir will struggle in this lane. Because, you know, she does want to scale. She wants 3, 4, or 5 items. She wants to be, you know, get to late game, be strong. Okay, so there will be a short pause at the start of the game for some stuff, but I think everything should be go from now as far as I can tell. So, but I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one actually, because I mean, it definitely looks like they're going to be playing around like opposite sides of the map. You know, this Viego, like I said, probably putting a lot into top lane. Ahri obviously able to get waves out, get around the map pretty easily. Azir as well, definitely very easy to get around. Or not Azir, excuse me. Bard, excuse me, in support, obviously very easy to get around. Does need to be kind of roaming permanently for the chimes around the map. So definitely looks like this Gwen's going to be getting a lot of help, but with that Teemo matchup, even when she's strong, it really, I can't imagine it's very easy for her up there. So I would say she will struggle, but I mean, it's Gwen. you can never count out Gwen at the minute. It really is such a strong, oppressive pick. Especially, well, I was going to say especially when it's into good matchups. Obviously, Teemo not one of them, but... And I'm very curious, I don't actually know if I've ever watched Teemo in a team setting, to be honest. I'm curious at how it'll work. Obviously, I see Teemo every now and then in solo queue. Definitely doesn't seem useful there. Maybe this will be different, I don't know. Maybe Xanthi just knows something that all of us don't. But I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely, I am quite curious to see how this Azir performs as well, because Azir is, you know, he's a champion after the recent changes to him. He's very, very easy to, you know, he's very easy to bully in lane. Obviously, the Ahri not really too much of a problem when it comes to bullying in lane. You know, she can do her thing. She has decent range. She has good CC, good gank setup, especially at level 6. But obviously as well, that Shuriman Shuffle, or the Emperor's Divide, as it's meant to be called. Definitely a really, really useful ability. I think just Azir's one of those champions that he just does so many things, you know. But I will go back to here before we get into game, because as I said, there will be a very short pause at the beginning of the game. But we will sort it out. Everything will be okay. And I mean, yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be a good game. I do, to be honest, I can't really, like, in conscience of the Teemo pick, I don't know what to, I do like the FLG draft a little bit more, to be honest. But anyway, the pause comes in. We are in game, the pause is there, so we're not going to be able to show it yet, but I mean, yeah, I do prefer FLG's draft a little bit more, personally. You know, once this Azir, I think he probably have a very easy time. This Kalista Renata obviously will have a very easy time too. I'd imagine it'll be really, really difficult for this Sivir to do anything, and with such a bot lane focus meta we have at the minute, it's really does look like it's going to be quite tough for them. But I mean, who knows? And I will have to say, I'm not actually 100% certain if I was right about excuse me, the Ahri pick. I don't actually know. I would assume it's going bot, but like I said, I'm really not sure. So the replay client is a little bit broken because, you know, the replay client is always broken. But I don't think we'll have any problems with that. I think everything should be fine, hopefully, but maybe that's a tiny bit of copium. But regardless, I think we are going to get into game now. So I think we're good now, if you give me one moment. Okay, everything should be fine to just go ahead. But anyway, so going into game, if we can go into game, excuse me, to here. So obviously, team setting up, everything's going fine. I will have to pause for just one moment. But okay. So obviously we have this Teemo in top lane. Definitely does seem a bit weird. We have the draft, the Viego and Bard in bot lane, and I don't actually have sound, if you will give me one moment. Oh no, I do. Everything's fine. Okay, so we're all good, we're all good. Everything is okay. So, as we get into game, we'll see Xin Zhao is starting top side and Viego is starting bot side. Obviously, like we discussed before, I would imagine, obviously, the Viego playing around the Gwen mostly this game, and Xin Zhao doing the opposite, playing around his bot lane with a significantly stronger early game. But, I mean, yeah, it's definitely looks fairly interesting. Obviously, the Sivir is going to struggle a lot for the first few levels, just the way the champ works, especially against something like Kalista. But obviously, I will switch this quickly because we don't want to have any problems with that. But yeah, so the Bard is going into support. And I will turn down the game a little bit because it is quite loud. I'm having a couple of problems with OBS, if you'll excuse me, but I think everything should be good from here. So we do see some small trades coming out, not really too much. The Bard obviously does need the weight, can't really leave his ADC under tower permanently. And we do see the flash Q coming in from the Renata, and the Bard, the Ignite goes down, but it's not going to be enough. Obviously, Sivir using that exhaust back onto the Kalista, just not enough damage yet, but both flashes the flashes of both supports burned, and that exhaust burned as well for the Sivir, which obviously in this lane is a really huge tool. If you ever played bot lane, you played against a Kalista, you'll know what it's like. These champions like Kalista, Lucian, Draven, you know, these lane bullies, you really do need the power of that exhaust into them, and I think trading the Ignite for that is perfectly fine because, you know, obviously there's a little bit of healing now on the Sivir with that spell shield change. It does give her HP now instead of mana, but obviously, you know, it's not too much of a problem for her. I think they will be fine down there. Obviously, would have liked to burn the Sivir's flash as well, but I mean, the Bard flash is okay. They are going to be cheesing here as the Sivir and the Bard both go for a back. They're just going to shove in that wave, do their thing. There is going to be a mid-gank coming here. The flash should be from the Viego, and the charm goes down as well. And that is going to be first blood for Ahri in mid lane. Now, this could be a problem, because once this Ahri gets going, and when she's able to get around the map, she can really be a problem with her, how much setup she does have, and how much she's able to just go around and do her thing. Obviously, Gwen still struggling a little bit now in this top lane with the poke that's coming in from the Teemo. The wave is pushing into her, so she will be fine in the end of this. The rest of the bot lane coming back to lane now, obviously. Invul definitely, you know, it is going to hurt now a little bit. This Ahri being behind, the jungle 2v2 is definitely going to be a little bit of a problem. But I think everything should be fine. Obviously, this Azir, even though he does have quite the strong early game, he does scale very, very well as well. So I think everything, it does, obviously a little bit of a lead here for FLG, but nothing that you really need to be too concerned about. And obviously that Gwen, using that dash in the middle of your snip is really, you know, it can be difficult to get away from, also with the true damage and etc. Only 75% of it is true damage now, after, I think it was 2 patches ago. Or it might have, no, it would have been 12.13 when this was changed. We are going to see Azir find himself in a little bit of trouble. Loftition doesn't, yeah, you know, he gets out just fine. Obviously, if you E on Azir and then you use the Q to dash your soldiers forward, it does follow the dash the whole way. So it gives him a really, really good gap closer, a really good way to get away. Obviously, Azir pretty much able to just do anything, especially in his current state when he is quite strong for the first time in a while. So he can engage, he can disengage, he has mobility, he has poke, he has a strong laning phase, he scales. Really just, you know, by design, such a strong champion. And we are going to see the bot lane of Invul may be going for something here. They might just go straight for the Drake. But definitely having a look at this. So nice trades going to mid lane. Obviously that first strike damage and gold going to stack up as the game goes on. Definitely going to get a lot more difficult. He does look like he's going for quite a bursty Azir build. But you can see by the pings on the map, they do know that Giga Shock is there and he is waiting. But the dragon is going to go down for side of Invul. So definitely, you know, a nice way to get back whatever they lost in that gank in mid lane. And there is going to be a gank coming here into the mid lane. They are waiting in the brush. Ahri is very high pushed up. She does have her Spirit Rush to get away. They are just going to avoid that. They're going to walk straight back down to bot lane. Kalista wasn't there, excuse me. It was only Xin and Renata. But they are going to look for a potential dive in the top lane. And Bard and Viego both waiting right outside this lane. Santi definitely could find himself in some trouble here. Though he does know they're here by the charm, but he's going to try and keep that wave out. They are going to go for it. The Bard tunnel comes through. A little bit of poke onto Teemo under the tower, and this wave is going to get shoved in. And you can see on the map, both mid and bot trying to get their wave shoved in, trying to get whatever they can do, because they know that Zanti is just pretty much dead under here. Is going to try and get away. Does use the flash, but obviously the needle's coming in from the Gwen. And it's going to be one last hit for the Viego, and that is going to be Zanti falling. I don't think he needed to use the flash there. He was pretty much dead. Definitely fine to try and get away, but obviously another kill for FLG. But I don't actually know if that was worth, because if you look at the other side of the map, a plate going for this, going for Loftation on this Azir in the mid lane and on into the bot lane. We have Lunar getting, I think, 2 solo plates that was actually. So I mean, if you're looking at it just on gold, there is another plate going over to Roskilde in the top lane. But that is a third plate, a third solo plate for this Kalista in the bot lane. And if we have a look at the gold, you can see already 800 gold ahead of the Sivir. There is going to be a small skirmish here in the jungle. Teemo using his blind, and Viego's just going to disengage, get away from that. Obviously Xin has taken pretty much his entire bot side jungle now, so definitely Vand might struggle a little bit here. But I think the real problem right now is this Kalista doubled her enemy laner's CS. Obviously the level 6 now, a little bit of a level lead on the Sivir as well. So it definitely looks like a really, really dangerous champion right now. Azir also with a almost 20 CS lead in the mid lane, and a plate went to him as well during that top dive. So, I mean, I don't know if that was necessarily worth, like the cross mapping from Invul was really, really good. And the gold lead is now down to just 200. And I mean, we're going to get a little bit of downtime for now. Herald is up in, I'm not sure how long, about 5 seconds. No, it is up now. So maybe going to look for some prio top lane. Obviously Teemo is trying to get this wave shoved in. Viego is very close though, however, so Xanthi could be in a little bit more trouble here. He's about half mana, and Viego is going to, I think he is going to use the Blast Cone, and he is going to run top lane. And Xanthi could be in some trouble here. The stun does land, and that's going to be a second death for Xanthi, and another kill for Vand on this Viego. And when this champion gets going, he really is difficult to stop. However, Slice may be baiting him in for a fight here. He's gonna use the Heartbreaker to get away, but Slice might not be letting him. No, they're both going. They're both going to disengage and get away with no fights. Obviously, another kill though for the side of FLG, and a kill onto this Viego nonetheless. Obviously, this Teemo, you know, this wild card, I thought it would be quite good into the Gwen, but with how much pressure they're adding top lane, like I had discussed before. But Leonard could be in some trouble here on this Kalista. Is going to be trying to use that passive to dash away, but might just be taking the 1v2 here. The spears are landing. Just spear after spear after spear. Uses the rend. The Bard is almost dead. The Bard falls, and she's going to be able to lifesteal. I think she beats the Kalista in this 1v1 as well. The Sivir, excuse me. And that is going to be a second kill. Sniping it with the Q. Both sums used, but I mean, very, very well played from Lunar. Obviously, he's just so far ahead. He just does so much damage. The Vamp Scepter healing is too much to deal with. He's just lasting so long. He's got so much mobility. It's so difficult to deal with. But that is definitely a big problem for FLG here if this Kalista gets any stronger. She's just so far ahead, still over double the CS of the Sivir. And if we look at the gold, almost double her gold, sitting at 4.4k, which puts her almost 1k above most of the lobby. Obviously, this Viego as well, though, definitely matching her strength, is going for that Bork Rush, which is obviously such a strong item on this patch after the buffs. I believe we're in 12.12, I'm not 100% sure. But definitely really, really strong item at the minute. Azir as well. Loftician picking up a huge CS lead in this mid lane, 23 at the minute. It's about, you know, 600 gold, give or take. This Gwen, obviously really just such a menace with those scissors, really difficult to deal with. Teemo did opt for the PTA, so definitely going for, you know, a couple of short trades. There's a lot of keystones you can choose to take on Teemo. But we are going to see a potential Emperor's Divide coming in, and Loftician has disconnected, if you will excuse me. I think just connection issues, as far as I can tell. But, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, it does look quite close. Obviously, a lot of effort going into Lonar in the bot lane. And I mean, yeah, it does look close though. It looks very, very close. This Teemo pick, this wild card that we spoke about, it doesn't seem to be working out, as far as I can tell. Or no, not as far as it's not working out. Full stop. Obviously, Kalista now sitting at a good 34 CS lead in the bot lane as well. On top of the fact that those 2 kills she got on the Sivir and the Bard was definitely worth it 2v1, obviously. But I think this Viego is definitely one that you'd want to worry about if he can take that. If he can take Lunar's body, if he gets one pick on her, you know, it is very easy for picks in this comp with the Bard ult, the Sivir ult, the Ahri ult and Charm. You know, but he is back into the game, and I think we will be unpaused in a moment, in just a moment's time. But yeah, I mean, it is looking quite. It's definitely very. It looks like it's going to be just between this Kalista and this Viego, as far as I can tell. So I mean, definitely could be quite interesting, but game hasn't restarted. Loftition is back in. He has reconnected. I am curious though. I don't know if they were looking for something in the bot lane there. I mean, definitely could have gone for something. Obviously, Van was sitting behind the wall on that Viego, ready to jump in. Obviously, all ults available for both teams at the minute. So I mean, definitely could have been an interesting 3v3, but I don't actually know what is the delay now because Loftition has reconnected. You probably heard it yourself. But regardless, game state, we are looking at the Mountain Dragon has just come up. It would be the second. He has disconnected again. But the Mountain Dragon obviously just came up. If you can see, I can see it, but you can't. But okay, so he is coming back now. I've just gone word, so he is coming back. Everything should be fine in a moment. But obviously, Mountain Drake did just come up just now. I think that's why both teams are looking for something. But I think a fight here could definitely really swing the game either way. Obviously a 2-kill lead for FLG, but definitely not too much of a problem for Invul. Definitely have a lot of scaling with that Azir, but the Sivir scaling really is just so difficult to match, and the Gwen as well. So I mean, if it comes down to in a vacuum, I'd say FLG definitely outscale, but if like 3 kills bot on a dragon here, it definitely could be really, really difficult. This game will swing way in the favor of Invul Lotus, so I mean, yeah, this Renata Kalista bot lane definitely working out quite well. The only kills on the board actually are in that bot lane, and it is 2 solo kills for Lanar, as we saw earlier. But I mean, Slice, I think as well. Slice does need to get on the map. He needs to get out, needs to do something. This Van is really causing problems, particularly for Xanti in the top lane. But I mean, when the Viego is this fed, he really is just so difficult to deal with because he effectively has his Zonias after every kill, on top of healing, taking their abilities, and getting an AoE execute reset. So definitely going to be a problem if he does continue to snowball. And you can see, or you can hear, excuse me, Loftition is back again, but I don't know if he is back for good. Only time will tell. But I mean, obviously as well, Gentleman Don was looking for something in the bot lane as well. You can see Ahri is running, well, you can't see, but Ahri is running down into the river. She does have the Spirit Rush up. But I mean, definitely, after the pause, I don't see anything happening now. I think both teams will probably just want to disengage. But definitely could have been something interesting. I mean, this Emperor's Divide, obviously, even in any skirmish or in any team fight, really just such a useful tool if you can use it correctly. Like a huge knockback, huge damage, really is an insane ability, to be honest. Really is the face of Azir, the Shuriman Shuffle. But I think it shouldn't be too much longer. I don't actually know what happened, but I am getting, I will be able to find out in just one moment what is actually going on, because I have absolutely no idea. I'm just as in the dark as everyone else. But the replay also might get stuck, so I'm not sure. I will give me one moment. Okay, I think we're fine now. Obviously, a couple problems with the replay system, but it is what it is. It's fine, honestly. You see, he does DC. I think. No, I don't know if we're still. I don't actually know what's going on, to be perfectly honest with you. If you give me one moment, I will try to figure it out. It is not exactly weird for League Client to not work a lot of the time. But they're back in game now, apparently. So I'm going to try and figure this out. Okay, so we got it. Okay, everything's fine now. So we'll go back into game. And yeah, obviously both teams just disengaging. I think they both knew what was going on there. Just decided not to take the fight under the circumstances. But I will quickly take off the time controls. You did not see anything. But okay, so it's frozen again. We have to love League Client, don't we? We do have to love League Client. And it's back again. I apologize for all the issues. Really, League Client does not want to work with me today. If it ever sticks, I know you can just rewind it to fix it, but I mean, yeah, well, it happens. It's League Client. If you ever spectated a game or watched a replay, it is quite difficult to deal with. Problems are not you know, that it's not immune to problems. But you can see on the bottom side of the map, they are going to start this Drake, and that is going to be a second Drake for Invul, and taken pretty much completely freely. Obviously, Viego, Van on this Viego is in his top side, so might be looking for something top, even though Teemo has just backed. So obviously Xin, Slice still does have that Herald, so he's definitely playing a lot around objectives. Would be nice to see him getting around, but, you know, with the 2 Drakes, with the Herald, definitely, you know, he's doing his thing, he's doing fine. Still really, really useful, especially in a game where Drakes are so important at the minute. And we are going to see another dive top lane. Zantee really just struggling so much. Blade of the Ruin King is coming out, but it is going to miss, and Xin is going to come up, and that is going to be the first kill for Slice. A shutdown onto Vand on this Viego, and that is going to be huge for Xin Zhao. But Ahri is coming up, the Spirit Rush does come out, the Everfrost to root him, the Ignite comes down as well to cancel this healing. Final charge of the Spirit Rush. He is going to be in trouble. Gwen does come out with Sip Sip, and it is going to be a kill for Zantee. But another fight going on in bot lane, and Gwen is going to fall as well. The kill going to Loftician in the end. Definitely a really scrappy fight in top lane. Really, obviously the attempted dive from Van really just not going his way at all. And obviously I don't know if you can tell, but the the KDAs and the cooldowns on the scoreboard are broken. I will try to fix it quickly, but League client does not want to work with me today. So, but that thought will have to wait. As there is a fight going to the bot lane, Magical Journey does come out, and this Kalista is going to be stuck in time, and she is going to fall, and the shutdown going to the Sivir. Now that could be dangerous. With this Sivir, obviously, she does need to scale, but the Heartbreaker comes out over the wall, the stun onto the Renata, the hostile takeover is still up, but she's not going to use it, and she is just going to fall to the Blade of the Ruined King. And that is going to be a couple of plates as well for Lockaduen on the Sivir. And when this Kalista falls behind, it really can be a problem. As we do have the scoreboard fixed, thank God. I don't know what I did, but I fixed it. So everything should be fine now. I think if you actually close it and reopen it, it should just fix. But I know that for next time anyway. I do apologize profusely for all the problems we've had, especially starting in the draft, going into game. You know, it happens. There's nothing much you can do about it really, but we just have to continue going. The Kraken Slayer coming out for Lockaduen on the Sivir. Definitely could be quite dangerous if this Azir and if Loftician and Slice manage to get on top of him. Could be quite difficult to deal with. But I mean, once the Sivir with the move speed, with everything, just putting out so much damage with the W and the Q. So much, you know, the premier AoE teamfight ADC, as Riot described her. But obviously, both bot laners moving into mid lane. Pretty standard stuff. It's a little bit safer for them to farm there than the side lane. Zantee is moving into the bot lane. The charm does come out from Ahri, the Everfrost as well, and Zantee does get chunked by Gentleman Don. Obviously, does still have that Spirit Rush up. Could have maybe gone for more, I'm not sure, but he is just going to play it safe. He's going to say, you know, he does obviously a lot of scaling inside of Effigy, but, you know, definitely fine to just keep going. There is no objectives up except the Herald in about 20 seconds time. And then on top of that, the Baron in 5 minutes after that. We could be looking for something here. Van just sitting in the brush. Does know that they can't see him in there, but I obviously can't really use the camera controls too well because I'm trying to concentrate on casting, and because I'm doing solo production, I kind of just have to let it go. But, you know, it is what it is. We continue on regardless. But obviously, like a Duen just sitting in mid lane, trying to clear out these waves. They are putting a lot into getting this wave done. And the Emperor's Divide does come out, but the Unstoppable from the Heartbreaker is going to send him straight through it. And that is very, very close to have been a huge pick. There's still time though. Since out going in, the Sivir is going to get the flash over the wall, and a huge ult from Bard. And there is another fight going on in bot lane. The Spirit Rush does come out. Zantee is going to fall in the end to the Ignite. Gentleman Don picking up that kill. Another fight going on in top lane. However, Xin Zhao is not going to fall to the Ignite. The bailout would have saved him regardless, I think. But obviously, once that timer goes out, you do fall anyway. Another tower down in the bot lane for Gentleman Don. And just all of a sudden, both teams just exploding all over the map. Zantee on this Teemo, it's really just not working out. And that is going to be a Herald for FLG. And potentially a mid tower. I can't actually tell if it's still up, but Yeah, it is still up. So potentially a mid tower. They are going to run straight into mid lane. You can see on the pings on the map, they are just going to go straight for the tower. Obviously, that was a huge ult from Gigashock on this Bard. 3 of the members of Invul locked down at once. Really, really hugely impact on that Bard. Obviously, you can tell by, you know, a really good Bard player is such a nightmare to deal with. And when the ult, when you can do things like that, it really is just difficult to deal with. But a 3rd Drake, Invul looking for the 3rd Drake this game. Alright, is sitting over the wall. She doesn't have the Spirit Rush available, excuse me, and that is just going to be a free 3rd Drake for Invul. And an attempted go at something, but it's not going to come to anything. The Herald will go down into the mid lane. That is going to be the mid tier 1 down, which does open the map up a lot. As you can see, Vand and Locketvan both going up, looking for something in this topside jungle of Invul's. But I mean, definitely does look like the game is swinging quite in the favor of Invul, at least in terms of the Drakes. The Magical Journey is going to come out, however, and the flash onto the Callista, and Lonar is going to fall. The cleanse does come out. He's dashing, and he is dashing, but he is going to fall to the Heartbreaker. The bailout not enough to save him. That is going to be a free pick, and another kill for Vand. So you can see a lot used on that. Obviously, I don't believe there was any summoners used except for the Gigashock's flash on the Bard. But obviously the slow from the Bard's autos, once he does get enough chimes to get the slow onto his meeps, then obviously can be a lot of problems, or can cause a lot of problems for the Callista, because slowing her move speed obviously will slow her attack speed as well, because she's dashing slower, she's getting autos out less, you know. And the Cosmic Binding as well with the slow on that too, definitely really difficult to deal with. On top of the fact that the Tempered Fate has really been so huge. Gentleman Don finding himself a little bit of trouble in the top lane. The charm does come out. Rooted with the Everfrost too, but Sinzo is going to continue going in. The knockup goes up. Tries to flash back towards the tower into the arms of Gwen. And she does fall, however, Gwen is going to be able to pick up 1 kill. The Emperor's Divine, not enough to save either of them. Loftician, excuse me, will get out alive in the end. But very, very good flash from Gentleman Don straight back into the open arms of Rustlead on this Gwen, excuse me. Just so much damage. She's gotten to her Riftmaker. She doesn't quite have Nashor's yet. She is going to go for the Nashor's 4th item, I think. Is going for the Banshee's Veil, or could just sit on the Verdant Barrier, who knows. But is going to pick up a little bit of magic resist. Obviously the Azir, quite dangerous for her. I think Callista obviously will struggle a little bit because, you know, Gwen is immune, as we all know. But Van maybe looking for something in bot lane, but he's just going to walk straight away. Zanti getting out with his life. Just cutting his losses, really. And Loftician just catching the wave in top lane. You can see the same thing's going on around the map when there's no objectives up. The Baron is up in about 30 seconds, and then you have that all-important soul point for Invul in... they're on soul point, excuse me. The Hextech soul point, which obviously is a very, very strong... definitely one of the stronger souls. Probably the strongest soul in the game, actually, depending on who you ask, and, you know, depending on team comps, how often you can proc it, etc. Definitely looks like it could be quite strong with this comp, but obviously both teams just catching waves, doing their thing. The Sivir now is scaling, though, however, and if we have a look at the gold, you can see has definitely caught all the way up to Callista after such a huge deficit in the early game. But Slice and Marcusa walking into, or going straight up, just, you know, everyone's just clearing their own camps, they're catching their waves, they're doing their thing. Nothing really too huge going on. Both teams, I don't think we'll see a Baron before the Drake is up. Maybe Invul could always trade it because, you know, FLG don't actually have a choice here. They have to contest this. The Banshee's Veil, however, is going to come out second for this Gwen, for Roskilde, excuse me. And obviously, Laura Magic Resist is definitely going to be a little bit more difficult for this Azir and Teemo to whittle her down. However, this Callista is quite strong, going for the Gwynsu's second, and I mean, even when she's not necessarily in the best spot ever, obviously, you know, when you're matching Sivir items and Sivir outscales you so heavily, it can be quite a problem, but Lonar has definitely shown us, even in this game alone, that he can, you know, he does have the mechanics, he can play around, he can play completely fine. But regardless, Drake, 1 minute away now, and I think you can see both teams trying to get the waves out. Obviously, the bot wave is pushing in very hard, so you should be able to clear it, no problem with the shrooms. But he is going to walk... He's not going to clear it, actually. Or no, he is. But he is out of this fight, and as you can see here, Van going straight in, a free pick with the Blade of the Rune King onto Xin Zhao, and you see the Cosmic Binding does come out, and Marcusa does get stunned, the Zhonya's does come out, the stopwatch, excuse me, and she is going to fall to Locker Duan. The Clan's coming out from the Kalista as well, she's running back in, there's spears everywhere, Lonar is going to fall as well, and that is going to be the final kill, the flash out from Viego, and he just survived, and Santi goes down as well, flashing in after him, the Emperor Survive does come out, and the Charm goes in onto Loftitian, and it's not enough to save him, and that is going to be an ace for FLG. And not another free Drake, a free Drake on top of that, denying this soul from Invul Lotus, which is huge for them. The gold lead and the game and the map has broken wide open. Obviously now up to about a 3k gold lead. And, I mean, they could look for something else here. Marcusa is coming straight in on this Renata. The stopwatch did get burnt, but, I mean, they haven't actually done the Drake yet. They're still going. Zinzao is going to go straight in, and Gwen does look like she's going to fall. The knockup comes in, and Gwen is going to fall. The hostile takeover coming in. Baron and Viego attacking each other, and Viego is going to fall. The bailout saves Slice, and this is absolutely huge from Invul. And the Drake is going to go to Locker Duan did get the Drake before falling, denying the soul and probably saving the game. Really, really impressive Locker Duan. Slice did have Smite up, and that Drake did go down to like well under 900 HP for a second or two there. But they are going to run straight onto this Baron. It's really going to be so difficult to contest when 4 of your team are dead. Are really just not able to do much on their own, and that Baron is getting melted. The Kalista damage, the Azir damage, it's way too much. The Smite does come out this time. It is going to be a Baron for Invul. And obviously the DD coming in for Xin Zhao, just so much healing, the bailout, so much help for him there. But I think what mattered most there was the Drake, which Locker Duan did pick up before falling, which I mean, definitely very, very, obviously did quite probably save the game for them, but I don't actually know what happened, because the Drake was there and it was low HP for quite a long time, and the Smite was up for Slice as far as I know. It might have come up right away afterwards as I saw it, but I'm not sure what actually happened there. But anyway, obviously getting some more control back into the game now. Invul definitely looked like they were being pushed out of it there, but they are back into it now, so everything's fine. Both teams contesting some vision in the river. Obviously the shield bow coming in for Van on the Viego, definitely really good to deal with this. However, we are looking for a small trade onto the Sivir in the mid lane. Not really going to do much, obviously. She will just be able to heal that up. She does have life still in her runes, but wave is being pushed in here for Invul, and they are going to look for this mid tier 1, which will blow the map right open. However, the Faraway Tempest comes in, and the stun goes down onto the Xin Zhao, and they might look for a pick. The Shirelles from the Renata does come out. The Azir tower is going up, and Invul are running straight back in. The Renata ult coming out, or not the Renata, the Kalista ult coming out, but I don't think either team are going to get anything from this. And my god, is this game difficult to cast. The hostile takeover does come out. Ahri definitely in a lot of trouble here, and the Spirit Rush comes out, but it's not enough. She's going to fall to the Teemo Poison. Xanti picking up his 3rd kill of the game, and nothing but a pick onto Gentleman Dom in that fight. And obviously with the Baron buff, with the Azir tower up, the passive tower up in the mid lane, Van could be looking for something here. He is going to have his blue buff stolen off him. Xanti is coming in, however, and another dash coming in from Loftitian, and Viego is going to get out safely. They are going to break down the passive tower. Since they're going in, Slice, huge damage onto the Sivir. She does fall, and that is going to be a second pick, excuse me. And my god, is this game difficult to cast sometimes. I don't know how many times I messed up in the past minute, but I mean, it's just, there's so many things happening, it can be very difficult to read, even if you're familiar with the game itself, but just with you, just getting some vision back. A huge 2 picks to bring the kills to complete even, and a 3k gold lead for Invul, along with the fact that they are still on soul point. That problem hasn't gone away, obviously, just not contesting these first 3 Drakes, Slice getting them pretty much straight away every single time. And we are going to see Roskilde is going to take quite a risky Hexgate up into top lane, but they do know she's there, as you can see from the pings, clearing out some vision. And it really just is difficult to contest this Gwen without multiple people there. The Zhonya's second item, it did come in for her as well, so definitely can deal with this, with some of the AD damage on Invul's side as well. But the Drake is going up in about 1 minute's time, and you see both teams just getting ready. You can see Loftition, Roskilde both have their teleports up, and pretty much every other summon in the game except for the Ignites and the Flash on Locaduenne. So, I mean, yeah, definitely, we are going to see a Magical Journey coming out just to save him. Gigashock almost getting caught out, but the Magical Journey, excuse me, does save him, and everything will be fine. But he does still have that Tempered Fate up, which is such a huge teamfight ability. See, they might be looking for something in the mid lane here. And I think we're going to see a fight breaking out very soon over this Drake. With 20 seconds to go, and the flash does come in onto the Azir. Loftition, the Zhonya's coming out, saves him just in time. Tempered Fate does miss. Loftition, the Emperor's Divine, not enough to get out, but the bailout is the hostile takeover coming in as well. And Azir does fall. Teemo is going to fall as well. The Gwen falling on top of that. And this does look like a fight that Xin Zhao can take in the end. No abilities left to use to get on top of Gentleman Dawn. And another double kill coming in for Kalista. And obviously, just with one jungler versus the mid support duo, he does have the smite up. And you can see they are going to try and contest it. The flash does come in to dodge the charm! And he does catch him out! The Maw healing, the DD healing, it's too much. And Slice is going to catch this final kill onto the Bard. And that is going to be the soul for Invul. That flash to dodge the charm on the Ahri. Wow, that was incredibly well played from Slice. Really having such a good game, especially after what I had said earlier about him getting onto the map. The TP is coming in from Loftition, and that is going to be the soul, the Hextech soul for Invul Lotus. And this game has blown wide open once again. Definitely Invul looking like they're completely in the driving seat now. However, we cannot count out this Sivir scaling, this Gwen scaling. You even saw in that fight just then, Gwen just putting out so much damage, so much healing. She's so tanky, so difficult to do anything really. But we go back to a neutral game state. The Baron is up in about 25 seconds, so everything obviously might try and set up for it. I definitely think this is Invul's game to lose in its current state. You can see Kalista going on to her 4th item, but the IE has come out for Locaduenne, and that is really when ADCs start to get powerful. Well, the scaling ADCs in particular start to get powerful. Obviously, I think one huge thing in that fight in particular was that Tempered Fate from Gigashock that didn't land. Obviously, really can swing an entire game really either way. Definitely not what he was looking for just there, but he is having a fine game. Obviously, he has had some good ults so far, but that one in particular, definitely not what he was looking for. And the Sivir ult is going to come out, but nothing else as far as I can tell. No, there's just going to be an ult and nothing else. Maybe to get away. I didn't quite actually see what happened there. But Invul are looking for this Baron. The Azir soldier not quite managing to get over the wall, unfortunately. And they are going to start up the Baron. It is falling so quickly. This Kalista damage, you can't just let her take it away. The hostile takeover zones them out of it. The Tempered Fate is going to put that Baron into stasis. They jump straight off it, and they're going to take the fight. And you can see the Emperor's Divine on the right side does get used, and Viego is stuck behind the soldiers. Loftition is the first to fall, and then it is Gwen, and then it is Ahri. And this is a huge fight for Invul so far. A 3-for-1. Xanthi is going to fall, and Van does get the possession up, but Locaduenne is going to be the last one to fall, and that is going to be a 1 fight for Invul. And you can see, going to go straight onto this Baron. Another really well played fight from Slice as well. But you can see, I don't know where you look at the start of the fight, but on the back of the Drake pit where that red ward is sitting just now, the Emperor's Divide did come out from Loftition, and the Van with the Heartbreaker on Viego ulted straight through it and was stuck behind there for the majority of the fight, really splitting up the two teams so well. But as you can see, you know, this Riftmaker, this Gorejunker, DD, Maw, the Bloodthirst on Kalista as well, just making these extended fights so easy. But we are going to see a contest coming in from the Gwen, And she might be going for a steal. She is just going to go straight onto Slice. The Baron does fall, and it is Slice that picks it up for Invul. But Slice will fall in the meantime. The hostile takeover does come out, and it does miss. The Tempered Fate missing onto Renata as well. And Gwen is going to fall. They might take the portal straight through, but they're not going to. They're going to leave it at the 1-for-1 and the Baron. But we're not done yet. The Spirit Rush coming in. The Emperor's Divide knocking her straight back. Obviously, you can't actually dash through that. And another good fight for Invul. Really just having so much, just obviously FLG throwing everything they have at this game now, and just it's not sticking, nothing is working. So many objectives for Slice, really having a absolute monster of a game. Definitely, at least so far in my opinion, the MVP. But Invul really starting to run away with it now. That gold lead up to nearly 10,000. And you can see where, or if you'll excuse my sake, you can see where most of that is. It is on the Slice. It is on the Xin Zhao and the Kalista, for both really the two people doing the most in this game. But you see the Magical Journey just come out, and Zanti does find himself in a little bit of trouble. Is going to delay the fight for as long as possible with the Zonias to get his team there. The Tempered Fate does come out to stop Loftition mid-dash. The hostile takeover is going to come out, and is going to hit just two people. And the only one to fall so far is the Sivir. Ludar coming in from the right side. Does get stunned into the stopwatch. Viego is 1 HP on the outside of the fight. No deaths yet. Ari is going to fall. And Roskilde on the Gwen. The stopwatch does come out, but she is going to fall straight away for the tower dive for Slice. Santi going the whole way under tower to take out the Bard. And he's not going to fall in the end. Another ace for Invul. And I think that this game is as good as done, as Zanti is still stuck inside as he waits for the minions to come in, and I think they should just be able to end here. Getting these waves through. Really well played game. Did look very shaky at the start for Invul, but some amazing fights from Slice in particular. Obviously Lonar with a couple of great fights too. And that is going to be game 1 for Invul. And wow, very back and forth game. Very, very back and forth game, and my voice is almost gone. But I mean, Invul, they just look so strong. Even when they're behind, they really just look like they're just so dominant.